If you don't know, you won't know. This is the No News, Just Facts podcast, and I'm back up in the building for another special edition. This time, it's Valentine's Day. And, to some people, Valentine's Day is a real special occasion. But I pose a question. If love is real, why does it need a date circled in red, a receipt stapled to it? Somewhere along the way, we let consistency get replaced by a performance, and then we called it romance. Welcome back. Tonight, we're going to talk about Valentine's Day. Not the cute version, not the root, the spell. If you don't know, you won't know. This is the No News, Just Facts podcast. Special edition, special episode. It is Valentine's Day. And I pose a question. If love is real, why does it need to be a date circled in red and a receipt stapled to it? Somewhere along the way, we let consistency get replaced by a performance. And then we called it romance. Welcome back. Tonight, we're going to deep dive and talk about Valentine's Day. Not the cute version, the science, the spirit, and the quiet war being fought inside modern relationships. So let's start clean. No errors, no myths, dressed up as facts. Valentine's Day started as a Christian feast day honoring a martyr named Valentine. Yes, Valentine. Not Valentine, Valentine's, because I know how some of y'all like to butcher Valentine's Day. But the historical details are murky because multiple early Christian martyrs were called Valentine. Over time, folk tradition attached romance to it. The romantic association really catches fire in medieval Europe. Geoffrey Chaucer, or Chaucier, is commonly credited as one of the major writers to connect St. Valentine's Day with romance in the 1300s. Now, about the pagan holiday claim. People often say Valentine's Day is basically Lupercalia in a new outfit. Lupercalia was a Roman fertility festival with rituals that modern people would call extreme. But here's the honest part. Historians disagree on how direct that link is. Some say the connection is unclear or overstated. More coincidence. And the internet has this lore more attached to it than documented lineage. So what's the truth? Valentine's Day is a religious calendar day, later medieval romance, traditions, and then this is the big one. Modern consumer capitalism. And capitalism didn't just add gifts. It redefined love into a deadline. I just don't understand why people get in awe of this day, because the day isn't just a day. It's a social audit. Valentine's works like a cultural scoreboard. Do I have someone? Do they claim me publicly? Do they spend enough? Did they perform love the way the internet expects? It's not romance. It's validation pressure, and the marketplace loves pressure. In the US, Valentine's spending is projected to hit $29.1 billion in 2026, with average spending around $199.78 per the National Retail Federation. So when you say we let this day consume us, that's not just vibes, that's a business model. Conspiracy, but realistic. Valentine's isn't only a holiday. It's a behavioral funnel. It converts anxiety into transactions. It turns prove you love me into measurable economic activity. If you love them every day, that's a true saying, but here's the trap. That statement is morally true, but emotionally incomplete because people don't just want love. They want assurance. Valentine's Day becomes a ritualized reassurance for people living in a world where attention to fragmented, loyalty feels rare, options feel infinite, and commitment feels risky. So the day becomes a substitute for what's missing all year. Steady investment, emotional presence, shared meaning, and felt safety. Valentine's is a symptom. Let me tell you what suffers because of that. And that has to do with the real relationships. People talk about grandparents like they had some magical love gene. Let's be objective. What older generations had was thicker community. A lot of people knew your business, clearer roles, sometimes unfair, but stable. Stronger religious, social pressure to stay married. Less digital temptation, more economic simplicity. What modern relationships face is loneliness. At the U.S. Surgeon General warned that loneliness is widespread. About half of U.S. adults report experiencing loneliness. CDC research also reports substantial prevalence of loneliness, the endless option illusion from dating apps. 53% of adults under 30 have used a dating app. Economic stress hitting the home like weather. Social media comparison. Research increasingly shows effects depend on how social media is used. Broad measures often show small effects, but specific activities can impact well-being more. So yes, something declined, but it's not only morals, it's the environment relationships are trying to survive in. But if you love them every day, yes, but here's the trap. That statement is morally true, but emotionally incomplete because people don't just want to love. They want assurance. Valentine's Day becomes a ritualized reassurance for people living in a world where attention is fragmented. Loyalty feels rare, options feel infinite, and commitment feels risky. So the day becomes a substitute for what's missing all year. Steady investment, emotional presence, shared meaning, and felt safety. Valentine's is a symptom. And then the question gets posed, hip hop can glorify distrust, cheating, objectification, hyperconsumption, but hip hop also contains devotion, accountability, tenderness, family, faith. So hip hop isn't the reason. Hip hop is a mirror and sometimes a megaphone. And also hip hop is definitely entertainment. So you can't just fully blame hip hop for the problems of why there are no real relationships or love. It gets playficated the way it does. Next is the red pill community. Red pill content often turns pain into ideology. Women become strategies. Men become wallets. Love becomes a power game. Sometimes it identifies real patterns, but then it sells a poison cure, cynicism as masculinity. Then we go into independent women that don't need a man. The honest middle. Independence is not the enemy. Contempt is. A woman wanting autonomy doesn't ruin relationships. A man wanting leadership doesn't ruin relationships. What ruins relationships is when either side uses their stance as a weapon. I don't need you becomes emotional exile. You're replaceable becomes control. And then now we get into the church side. Church culture. The church can protect commitment or trap people in shame and silence. Some taught submission, but not mutuality. Some taught purity, but not intimacy. So again, not one villain, a mixed legacy. The deeper root, we moved from a covenant to convenience. And then we wonder why love feels unstable. And then you start to wonder, why does love feel harder now? Well, the science behind that is your brain bonds through proximity, repetition, repair after conflict, felt safety. But modern life disrupts all four: work schedules, phone addiction, emotional burnout, phubbing, culture, and constant low-grade comparison on the app side. The brain gets trained into a loop. Novelty, dopamine, swipe, novelty, dopamine, which can reduce patience for the slow build intimacy that long-term love requires. The spiritual is that love isn't only emotion, it's formation. Your relationship becomes a workshop. It reveals pride, triggers wounds, exposes selfishness, and demands growth. So if your spirit is undisciplined, love becomes unbearable because love requires you to die to a version of yourself. That's why some people would rather buy flowers and practice humility. Money in relationships. Is it good to splurge on your partner? Spending is not devotion, but spending can be devotion if it's aligned with your values, your capacity, and your partner's actual love language. NRF shows Valentine's spending is at record levels. That means expectations are rising, even when people are financially stressed. So here's the ethical rule. Spend in a way that doesn't create resentment later. A gift that silently says, I can't afford this, turns into debt. And debt turns into stress. And stress turns into conflict. A better question then, how much would I spend? What gesture would make my partner feel truly seen without making us unstable? Sometimes that's a dinner. Sometimes that's a handwritten letter and a planned day with intention. Sometimes that's doing the thing you keep promising, which is consistency. Men are tired of the same BS, and women are too. Yes, both are tired, just tired in different languages. A lot of men are tired of feeling reduced to money or utility, being shamed for vulnerability, being compared to highlights and fantasies. A lot of women are tired of emotional neglect, inconsistency, being expected to carry the relationship's entire emotional labor. And if both sides are tired, the solution isn't who's worse. The solution is standards, skills. Standards without skills becomes arrogance. Skills without standards becomes enabling. Commitment is under pressure, but the story is complex. Divorce rates in the US have generally declined from their peak decades ago, but divorce and relationship breakdown are still real, and relationship forms are changing. The CDC reports a divorce rate of 2.4 per 1,000 population. So it's not as simple as everyone's divorcing more than ever. It's more like fewer people marry, expectations for marry are higher, and people are less willing to stay in misery silently. Also, loneliness is rising, and that changes the dating ecosystem. So what's wrong versus what's right? Consistency over performance, repair over pride, discipline over vibes, honesty over manipulation, shared values over social flexing, financial stewardship over romantic debt, community and mentorship around your relationship, not isolation. What's wrong? Using Valentine's as a loyalty test, letting internet culture set your relationship expectations, treating love like a power contest, outsourcing intimacy to money, refusing accountability while demanding devotion. And here's the kicker. If Valentine's Day is the only day you're not romantic, you're punctual. And as I close, here's the challenge. No gender wars, no excuses. Before you buy something, ask yourself, if you've become something, have you become safer to love, more honest, more consistent, more disciplined, more committed, but not controlling? Because the real conspiracy is this: a culture that profits when love fails will always sell your decorations instead of devotion. And if you want to beat the system, love on a random Tuesday like it's February 14th, and keep doing it until your relationship becomes a place your soul can breathe. I hope you guys enjoyed tonight's show. And for all my lonely people, hey, you're going to find somebody. That person that God has placed and made for you is out there. So be blessed. Have a wonderful evening, and I will see you on the next go round. Y'all take it easy.